Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the hybrid contractor? We hear about the hybrid cars and the hybrid this and the hybrid that. Tell us about the hybrid contractor.
Well, it's an interesting concept, Wally, and it's not something that is really all that new. I mean, the thought is that a hybrid contractor. Well, there's really two types of contractors as we see it across the country. One is what I would classify as a tradesman. Okay, so a tradesman is typically a person who gets paid to do work in a particular trade, right? So
Right.
anybody who shows up, if you hire a new guy on Monday and you put him to work starting on Wednesday, and he has zero experience, but he's come in to help you run duct systems or whatever, and you're paying him, he's now a tradesman. He's not qualified to do anything in this industry realistically, except be a helper, right? Be an assistant, an associate within your organization. So they're a tradesman by definition because they're getting paid to do work in a trade. Well, the difference between a tradesman and what I would call a craftsman is that a craftsman really understands what they're doing, and it's kind of like the difference between, I don't know, and I don't want to mess anybody up out there, but it's kind of the difference between Bud Light and a good craft beer. I mean, Bud Light's a great beer, no problem, most popular beer probably in the world, but craft beer is just so much more. I don't know, it's just better. It's just better. It costs more too. It's more.
Right.
They don't make as much of it because they do it in a craft style. They do it in a small batch style. Well, the same kind of thing with this hybrid contractor approach. I mean, what we're really talking about is taking a guy who is good technically at what he does, taking it to the next level to be not only good, but to be great. We want them to be great at what they do technically, not only in the technical side of the business, but also the business side of the business.
Right.
So we want them to be effective in how they answer the telephone. So they're trained properly as CSRs. They're actually doing a great job of managing their people and coaching their people. They're doing a great job technically. We want to make sure that they measure all of the results that they get when they install the systems. But in measuring, we talked a little bit last time about Lord Kelvin, where he talked about if you can't express what you know about a given subject in numbers, your knowledge is of a meager and unsatisfactory kind. Well, we think you should also measure your team and measure your processes. So we want to have scorecards. I know you just spent some time on the golf course recently out there in Colorado Springs, and I bet there was a leaderboard out there where they were keeping score. And I also bet that every golfer that was involved in that tournament had a personal scorecard right there in their pocket. Right. And those guys are keeping up with their personal score, so they know exactly what they're doing. But then they look up on the leaderboard to see where they are relative to everybody else. Well, that's a component of a hybrid contractor, of a craftsman contractor. They measure also not only the performance of the HVAC systems that they install and maintain, they also measure the performance of their people and their processes. And one of the things I learned when I was working with my dad and his business and working with contractors when I used to own my software company years ago is that unless we measure the performance of our people, and they understand what their expectations are, a lot of times they don't perform up to a very high standard. Right. So having that hybrid contractor is one who focuses not only on the technical side of the business, but also the business side of the business.
Right. So it's really about taking the basic contractor, the basic technician, and giving them the broader based education, the training, the skills, communication, technical, otherwise, business skills, and making them competent across all those different functions, which is really important. And it really is part of the reason that NCI is such a good fit with EGIA, because that's the EGIA's mission as well to increase skill levels across the board, across all functions in business.